Blog Talk Radio.
We welcome the night.
Night Oasis, a radio show where we discuss all the latest movies and news from the world of horror. Joining me, as always, is my co-host Ian, who dropped the last second, and I had to let the intro go a little longer. Are you there?
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you. Ugh.
No, but we are here. We are doing a special Thanksgiving episode of the show. We might have something else planned a little bit later in the week, so we have discussed that. But we decided we needed a reprieve after the hellacious month of October, so we took some time off. And it honestly, to tell you what, it was good. We needed it. And coming back and actually watching something halfway decent was a fucking amazing feat. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, we are here to talk about Derelicts from 2017, even though I think it just came out like a few years ago, like actually out. But nonetheless, it's our Thanksgiving special, so let's get into Derelicts, Ian. This is, when I first read about this when I saw it, I was like, okay, because I wanted to do it last year, and we decided to do the last Thanksgiving because that just came, that recently came out at that time. And like, okay, we'll push Derelicts back, and that's why we're doing it this year. And it had a great poster, as you can see on the thumbnail. It has a really good hand-drawn poster, and I was like, okay, this has to be, at least something crazy and chaotic, and at least that's what I had in my mind built up. And upon watching it, it didn't quite hit my expectations of what I hoped it would have been, but it wasn't too bad in the process. So the general consensus general idea of Derelicts is it's Thanksgiving, and there's a family, and everyone is their own, type of character in this type of ordeal. When it's a family with, issues, you have marital problems, you have a horny son, you have the daughter who just wants to, make it in her class, running class, triathlon, stuff like that. She wants to, constantly do her routine and get herself to where she needs to be. You have the father character, not the father, but the dad of the father, who is a gynecologist, and he's banging women. You know, he has an older girlfriend, and the very first scene of the movie is them having sex. So it's not like X, you know, levels of sex, even though, like, again, like, old people having sex in movies is nothing new. Like, I've seen 100 movies like that where the old people, oh my God, old people having sex, it's gross. It's get over yourself. It's not that bad. I mean, I watch that type of porn, so it's not even crazy. So nonetheless, old people having sex, and then you have, you know, the kid masturbating in the shower, and just a bunch of other crazy, you know, an eccentric cast of characters. They're all, you know, ups and downs, and all their secrets come to light a little bit later on in the film. And then we're introduced to the brother and his son of the family, and they're driving to have dinner. And then they decide there's a homeless man on the side of the road with a sign, and he decides, you know what, I'm going to give this man some hospitality. And he gives him some money, and then they're both killed. And then the group of derelicts, our main protagonists in the film, snatch up the truck and drive to the destination on the GPS, and chaos ensues, where they're playing games almost with the family and causing chaos. We have the captain, who is technically the leader, and he was a war vet, and he has the Charlie Manson X on his in between his eyes on his forehead. Then we have Forrest, who is another war vet, and he's the African American character of the film. And then we have Turk, who is the one that wears the teddy bear on his head, the pink teddy bear. And then his brother, and I guess the sister. I don't know exactly who the girl was in the family of crazies. But that's technically our group that rambushes the family and just makes their Thanksgiving a living hell. And like I said, overall the film wasn't too bad. It does what it technically was able to set out to do. It does have some okay gore scenes. But it just wasn't as crazy as I kind of expected it to be. There's some interesting scenes, you know, to say the least. You know, it's not like, you know, straight out, you know, like gross factor or gore. You know, there's some gore, don't get me wrong. But it's not like the depravity that I was kind of expecting. It's a little tongue-in-cheek, a little campy in parts. And I was like, what is this? Because I had a feeling of another movie that like reminded me of, like, these, you know, the cast of characters, these, you know, crazy people that attack, you know, at a dinner table. I was like, what was that movie? It's like, I was like thinking it's like a few years back, but it was actually farther back than that, like 2007, and it was called The Bloodshed. And that one's more about a family, you know, an inbred family than homeless people, derelicts. And it just has the same tone to it, where like that one, you know, they're crazy and they're laughing all the time and screaming and yelling, and Alan Rowe Kelly's in that. He plays I forgot, but he plays the younger daughter of the film. You know, it's a man dressed as a woman, but still, it's not a bad movie either. I mean, it does what it sets out to as well. Even a very small, limited budget that one is. But it has another scene where like they're in the shed and like there's a big dinner party and they're all laughing and cackling and doing all kinds of mischief and mayhem towards the people that come across their farm. But it's like reminding me of that one. Also, it could be also reminiscent of the Three from Hell, the dinner scene in that at the very beginning, you know, towards the beginning of that film with Clint Howard in the clown costume and all that stuff, where it's just like that, but like an elongated movie for 70 minutes. So it's not it's a concept that's been done numerous times in movies, but it's like it's a full-length feature, you know. And again, the characters, they're all, you know, I wouldn't say tongue-in-cheek, but they're, you know, kind of over the top. in the way that they're portrayed. Turk is just like a fucking animal, with his pink teddy bear mask on, and then the daughter of the Derelicts, she's like oversexed, and she wants to bang the nerdy kid, and he has like a penis pump, and he had, the weirdest thing about the whole movie is like there's a Highlander Endgame poster on the wall. It's like why does this kid have a Highlander Endgame poster on his wall? It's like the worst of the well, not the worst, but it's like one of the lesser sequels. That's the worst is the Source, but it's like it's so crazy that it has the Highlander Endgame poster up there. But nonetheless, like I said, they do some okay stuff with the family. Like I said, there's some decent okay gore scenes, effects. There's some dismember, some slices across the throat, impalements, eyes, fingers. There's a decent amount. Shotgun blasts. But again, it's very, like I said, more comical in a sense, because it just kind of, again, it kind of has like that Greasy Strangler attitude with it, where it's just like it's not like that, where it's a Greasy Strangler, but it's sort of like in that, subsidiary of the Greasy Strangler, like, out from it, like a line pointed to it, where like they're acting that way because, like, again, like there's parts in the film where like characters come to life after they're dead to say something to another character, so it's sort of a little, I wouldn't say unhinged, but just a little, campy in a sense, a little over the top. But again, I didn't mind it. It could have been a little better. Like, again, if they went for like the full depravity, like really, like disgusting stuff, but they went for the more easily digestible in its favor. And like, again, it didn't hurt my enjoyment of the film. It was still, like, again, after everything we had last month, this is a breath of fresh air. It wasn't the most, again, it's 70 minutes, it's in and out. You pretty much get your money's worth or your time's worth, because it's just like it starts and then it just keeps going and more things happen, and it's just like, like the greatest hits CD. It just keeps going, next thing. Like, okay, it's the same beats that all the songs you love, or moments in a movie you love. And it didn't take my enjoyment out of it. It was still a perfectly fine movie. They had some decent gore, and again, it could have been a little more mean-spirited, but again, I like everything that's sort of mean-spirited. But it could have had a little extra dab here and there, but I didn't mind it. Ian, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I wasn't really wowed by it so much. It's definitely better than any of the films we watched last month, so that was nice. I didn't hate this film. I didn't want to die at the end of it. I just had a hard time getting into it because I hated the characters I was supposed to feel sorry for. Mm-hmm. But I was kind of glad that they died because they were all pieces of shit. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I kind of had a hard time getting into it at parts, but I did like the gore. I thought it was, especially like the penis pump eye popping out. That was interesting. I was like, oh, I knew they were going to do something with the penis pump when they introduced it, and I wasn't, disappointed with that. I did, going by like the cover art and stuff, I kind of expected it to be a little bit more crazier. But it was fine. It just felt like a bunch of other movies. Like they were just trying to copy, like you brought up, Three from Hell, Devil's Rejects, kind of filled to it with, like, I don't know, it kind of felt almost generic because it was trying to be other things, but I did think it was nice that they went like kind of their own semi-original route with it, with the whole family dynamics and like just being like not an actual family, but how they were just all crazy. And then I did like the mother snapping at the end. Like I kind of saw that coming early on, and I was like, okay. But I was kind of hoping that she was the one that would kill her husband. But I don't know. There was a lot. It was like there was just so much that happened in such a short amount of time. Because it was like, what, hour and 13? I think that's what Tubi said. So, yeah. I was like, dang.
It takes no time. It takes no time to get started. Like I said, it just keeps rolling, you know? Like, now the Turk is crazy, and now he's on top of the dinner table. Now they're trying to escape, and now they're next door, and now they're here. Now the mistress is in there. Now this is happening, and now the dad's coming back. And then it just, like, kept going. It's just like, not even giving us a chance to breathe, are you? You know, just like next introduced. You know, they didn't get time to simmer. You know, it's just like overflowing.
Yeah,
where it wasn't like where it was just to the point where it's like you can't handle it. I mean, it was a perfectly. You know, it was like it's just like a controlled chaos, in the best way I can describe it. And it was just like, yeah, okay, now we're gonna go here. You know, it's like sort of like a trauma movie almost, where it's just like they keep going like more over the top, but it's like not as crazy. But, you know, it's just like someone did a line of Coke and, you know, they're all jacked up, basically. And that technically happens in the movie. So.
Right. I actually thought the movie could have used, like, an extra 10 minutes to kind of maybe pace things out a little bit. But other than that, like, not really anything. Maybe add a little bit more gore and what have you. Kind of extended it a little bit. Because, like, everything happened so fast that the movie personally felt quick just because, you know, it's like, oh, shit, we're already at the end. It's like, and I was like, oh, that was, like, instead of feeling like some of the movies last month that felt like 1 minute was an hour. Like this was just like boom, 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 boom. And I like when a movie can do that. Like when you lose yourself into it, even if it's not like the most amazing film in the world, it doesn't really need to be if you can draw in your audience. And I felt like they did a great job of that. And
and like
I said.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, like I said, you know, that's why I felt like it could have been just a tiny bit longer, just to give us a little bit more, you know, either like a little bit more breathing, like kind of build a little bit more suspense, just a tiny bit.
I think
the
thing is like, again, when the brother and the African American character, they start butting heads. Like that seems like it just came out of nowhere. So yeah, I can understand like, you know, like needed like a minute or something to build up for them two going back and forth.
Yeah. I mean, like I got that they were, you know, everything was just unhinged and they could snap at any second. When that point was drove home hard, and I was just like, we just need a little bit, like, give us some more, just give us a couple of little extra build-ups. And, I mean, that was all it needed, was just some more build-ups. I do wish the main characters were more likable. Like, it just felt like there was nothing to grab onto emotionally with those main characters. Like, I felt nothing when all of them died. I was just like, the husband and wife were at each other's throats. The guy was a prick. The wife was a bitch. The daughter was also a bitch. The son was just, didn't really talk and was kind of when he did talk, he was just putting people down, and I was just like, damn, I hate every one of these people.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're going to die.
And it's a total opposite of his character, too, because he's this, all he wants to do is watch porn and look at naked women, and finally he gets one that wants to fuck him, and he doesn't want to have any part of it. So it makes him odd.
Well, I was like, guys like that always want to do that usually are the first to clam up when it's offered.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it happen in person, and, like, it's the wildest thing. Because it's like, it's right there. They're saying yes. Go. But, I don't know. That goes into a whole different topic. But yeah, no, I honestly, I mean, like, it wasn't, like, amazing movie, but I really am glad that it wasn't like anything that we watched in our last marathon. I was really, like, after that marathon, I am so nervous about watching some of these movies. Just because, like,
well, our next one might be a little tough. Our next one might be that, but that's coming up.
Goes. That's how it goes.
So yeah, like you said, as we mentioned, it's a perfectly fine and adequate movie. I mean, if you pair this up with like the last Thanksgiving that we reviewed last year, I mean, it's not too bad. Like that one is like does the same thing towards the last act. I mean, of course, that one's more Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where this is more, what it is, campy, where that one's more, straightforward. But yeah, like both are perfectly fine for what they are, and this one's again, it's just dumb. A crazy movie. I mean, what you'd expect for it. It doesn't really hit the peak levels that I wanted out of it, but it has some okay effects and some okay moments that do stand out, especially the penis pump. And there's just like they could have went a little further with like a few things. I mean, shoving a turkey leg in a guy's mouth is like, It kind of reminded me of the Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, where he kept feeding her and she got the cheeks popped out. But yeah, it wasn't terrible. It was perfectly adequate for what they wanted to do. And again, I wish it was a little bit more crazier. But I guess they didn't want to overdo it, because if you overdo something, it kind of ruins it sometimes. And like I felt like,
oh yeah, definitely.
Maybe it was for the better that they didn't go over the top. But again, it just didn't really push the buttons like I wanted it to. But again, that's just my personal means. But again, I didn't think it was like as crazy or depraved as I, kind of expected for the poster art. But again, that's poster art. It's supposed to make you think other things, and then you look at Jack versus the Lanterns. Yeah, all right. But nonetheless,
God.
Look at 8-Ball Clown. All those are just like, they have decent, okay art, but then you watch it, and then you're fucking the seventh layer of hell. But nonetheless, it is for a Thanksgiving movie. I mean, I'd much watch this over Thanksgiving. I mean, any day of the week.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You can have a little fun with this one, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's perfectly has a good time. It keeps everything moving, and like Ian said, like you're already like when I went to take a break, I was like 50 minutes, like fuck this, I'm not even gonna take a break. I'm just gonna finish it. I only had like 10 minutes left, so I was like fuck it, 10 minutes, and I'll be done with it. So it goes by fast because it's just so chaotic in nature, and it does keep you engaged, even though it is not the most climatic film. I mean, there's stuff that happens toward the last act where it kind of makes you think otherwise, that everything didn't really happen, even though it kind of doesn't make sense for the story. Like it comes out of nowhere, like okay,
oh yeah,
it's like it's like that part. Like, wait a second, what? Did it? So was it this all along?
I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah,
because
like there's something there. That last act, the last couple of minutes, like. So wait a second. So that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, like I kind of wish, that's another thing I wish they would have touched more on was, like, the mother. Like, just barely had any presence. Like, her whole time that she was just walking around like she was about to snap anyway, even in the beginning, but it's like it didn't touch on anything. And so there was just like some scenes with her that was like, I did even think, I was like, was this all in her head? Like,
yeah, because that makes sense. The dead people, coming back and like, what the hell?
Yeah, when it first happened, I was like, wait, is she? I was like, did she die? Was she faking? I was like, wait. I was like, I'm so confused.
I guess, again, it's one of those things where you don't know if she's actually losing her sanity over everything that's going down, or she's actually insane and nothing, it's just one of those things where, like, I guess they wanted to leave it open-ended, and it's just weird that it doesn't really make sense from the beginning of the film when the Derelicts are introduced. Like, so you're going against yourself, You're trying to introduce this little bit of plot or character development that's not touched upon until the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, like, it's just like, kill them all and then stuff the turkey. I was like, what? I mean, that's going to stick in my head for a while, the stuff the turkey. I 100% know that that's going to be stuck in my head. But I was just like, wait, is he dead? No. Okay. Is she just going crazy? Like, okay, like, what's going on? I was like, did I miss something? Was something just not explained? Because that's just what I felt like. Like, it happened so, everything just happened so fast that, like, I did have to rewind it a couple of times just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Because, like, you look away from the screen for longer than a minute, and it's in a completely different, like, plot line. And it's like, oh God. It's like, you got to pay attention to this movie.
Yeah, I was like, oh, the captain's dead. What? Where'd that come from? I blanked and I missed that, right? And I'm like, oh, they're in the next door neighbor's house. Like, when did that happen? It's just one of those things where you got to pay attention because it's just so, coked up on itself.
You don't get a breather.
Yeah. You gotta be on your toes for this one. But no, it's not that bad. It's not one of those. But it's just like, again, that last couple minutes just comes out of sort of nowhere. Where like, wait a second, that doesn't make sense to the central plot of everything that happened previously. And again, like you said, Ian, like that extra few minutes longer could have maybe, helped, that specific plot point of the mother. But it doesn't. It, like I said, it just comes out of nowhere. And like, there's just like no, not that it needed character development, but if you're going to introduce that kind of plot point, you definitely need it, because, like, they introduced, like, the dream sequence of the daughter running and, like, Turk chasing her. We needed that. Like, why do we need that? She's crawling underneath the table. She's not running. But,
right? And then there was, like, I mean, and all they had to do to, like, even if they were just, like, didn't want to touch up on it too much, they could have, like, had her, like, even like a 5-minute, not even 5 minutes, like just a short conversation with her therapist that, like, hey, you have this, or if you, your medicine, like her be like, hey, I need my medicine, like her taking pills that her family doesn't know about, and they're like, well, I can't give you because it's, Thanksgiving and we can't give you your medicine. So just call us if you have, hallucinations. Yeah, like, and boom. Like that whole thing.
You hit that nail on the head,
psychotic
you're
episode.
right there. Yep.
Yeah. And that right there, plot point, character development, we know. And it's just like such an easy, like, little add too.
Yeah, you could have done that at the beginning after the dad and the girlfriend have sex, in the bed, and like she gets there and she's on the phone with the therapist, so you just hear her talking, and then the husband walks in and talks about making dinner. So it's like they could have hit that pretty easy on very early in the film. You've been right on your way. I mean, it'd been dialogue you might have forgotten about. Like, oh yeah, I remember them talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
You're
also
golden.
like her. What didn't make sense to me was that the dad was the only one that had a problem with the grandpa having sex super loud early in the morning. Like, not even like. The kids didn't really react too much to it. And she was acting like it was just commonplace. Oh, I can't control my dad's libido. It's like, tell your dad to calm it the fuck down. I'd be upset too. Like, shit. That's gross. Like,
but nonetheless, it wasn't terrible. I mean, again, if me and Ian going back picking it apart, I mean, things don't make sense sometimes. But again, that's the reason we do this show sometimes, just to, like we try to, but then we get into the sub layer of the review where we pick everything apart. So it happens once we get all the review out of the way. But it is kind of a issue. So it kind of it's a little spoiler territory, but it's not too bad. I mean, it's like, again, it's just one of those where you just like tilt your head sideways and go, wait a second, what? And like I said, like we pretty much hit it on the head. Like if they touched up on that very early on, the first couple minutes of the movie, like they would have hit that on the head and it made sense towards the end. But they don't do that, and it's a very, very manic film, and it's just very chaotic and just comes out of left field when it actually shows up as a plot point. But nonetheless, I think we hit everything that we needed to with this review, and I'm going to call it early because I have to get up early. It is Thanksgiving after all. But we appreciate everyone listening, and we will be back. We do have an idea, and hopefully we'll well, I don't know. I don't know how that one's going to turn out. But nonetheless, that's for another day coming up, and it's going to be something. It's going to be something. But, Ian, as always, you have yourself a great day, and it's always a pleasure talking with you. And take care of you and your family. And thanks, everyone, for listening. Happy Thanksgiving, and we will see you next time on Night Oasis.
Good night.